Welcome to another episode of The Life We Create. I am Cobain Rivers.
And I'm Taylor Joy Stevens.
And it's good to see you all again.
Yeah, we cooked up something good.
It's been a minute.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a little bit of time. It's been 7 days.
7 whole days.
Glad to see your faces.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess you see our faces.
Glad you're checking in. Glad you're hanging. Glad you're vibing. That's what we're here for.
And so we hope that you will also like and subscribe and do all those things. Our favorite one. What's our favorite one?
Review.
Yeah, it helps out the channel, helps us grow.
Yes,
That
on
is-
Apple Podcasts specifically.
Yes,
Please.
that's the name of the game right now for us is growth, along with presenting value and giving you all an entertaining show every week.
Building a community.
Yes, so thank you all for tuning in.
So we need that engagement.
Yes.
To build it with you.
Yeah.
Please and thank you.
And this week we are talking about
Failure and creativity.
I glitched out for a second there. Creativity and failure within creativity. And specifically embracing failure within creativity.
That's the secret sauce.
We talked a few episodes ago about perfectionism. We talked about how that hinders us. And something that kind of stemmed from that was this connection to failure. And so we're talking this week about learning to embrace that failure. And what does that look like? Like, what does that mean as far as failure within creativity?
Yeah, how to work through it and how to ultimately redefine it, which we'll get to later. So just watch till the end, listen till the end to find out.
Yeah. And so, when I think about failure within creativity, for me, it is when you have an idea and you create something with an outcome in mind and you fall short of that outcome.
Yes.
That's my definition of failure within creativity.
Yeah, basically, having this vision and your outcome falls short of that vision. The result is, falls short of what you imagined in your head. So you didn't quite hit the mark for yourself.
Yeah. And I can think of a lot of projects where that's happened. It's really has been a lot earlier in my life where I realized that I was struggling heavily with embracing failure and letting that be a thing.
Yeah, like kind of taking on the weight of it, because so many of us in society at large has put such a weight onto failure. I think is one of those reasons. And also a lot of people still struggle, and I've struggled in the past too, with fear of failure. Yeah. So that's a weight, a negative weight to this thing that really doesn't have to be that.
Well, and you talk about that weight. I think there's a big something that I always kind of had was this deflation period after releasing something or putting something out that I created and it not getting the response that I thought it would. Because when you feel like something is going to hit, a lot of times, at least for me, I would go onto this sort of like this mountain of emotion. I'm at the top of the mountain, like, ooh, this is going to be fire. And then when it doesn't hit that way, there's this deflation, like, I really thought this was going to have a larger impact. And when I was younger, before I really learned to look at failure differently, that was hard to, that was something that I would carry over into in the next project. There was this, okay, well, I thought the last one was going to be successful and it wasn't. Maybe this one's going to be the same way. There was that kind of mental pressure that I was adding on myself.
Yeah. I want to say, release the pressure, baby.
Yeah. Well, that's a learned thing. You
have to learn that, because we were kind of talking about this earlier, how we weren't really taught how to deal with failure, and how failure was like portrayed and perceived and kind of molded into our brains. And it takes a lot of willingness to rework those neural pathways, recondition yourself, and use failure as a tool toward your success?
I actually kind of was taught to embrace that failure and not have a fear of it. When I was in karate, and I don't know if I've discussed this, but I pretty much did karate for like the first like 10 years of, well, not the first 10 years. I wasn't like straight out of the womb doing karate, but from like age like 6 or 7 to like age like 16, I was pretty much doing karate.
The Karate Kid.
Yeah, and that was like my sensei. He basically taught us to not be afraid of failure. That was a big part of it. And that was, you know, it allowed me to develop and get really good at that. And I took that over into other sports. I took it over into other creative avenues as far as like school stuff and plays and stuff like that. But for some reason, when I became not even just an adult, when I decided to pursue creativity as a career, is when I sort of lost that ability to not be afraid of failure, because there was so much pressure around this has to hit so that I can make money.
Yeah. And this just occurred to me as you were saying that, because I had the same experience in gymnastics where like there was a lot of failure, especially in learning new tricks and, you know, falling off the beam.
I'm sure the first time you flipped, you didn't flip properly.
No. And it was all get yourself up and try again. Like that's the lesson. You keep working. Why do you think you practice and practice and practice? And, you know, you just keep trying again until you get it. And it's interesting how at a young age, I think we're taught in these specific arenas how to deal with failure, but it's not applied to your life. It's not applied to the real world necessarily. And of course, there's lessons you take into life and lifelong lessons you've learned in like a sport per se, like I did with gymnastics. But one, no one told me how to release the pressure with that. But two, like you said, sometimes people get hung up, because I had that journey too. I got hung up once the structure was taken away in dealing with failure while pursuing something creative, while pursuing something that you don't necessarily have a blueprint for. You have to define your own success within it.
And part of that, because you know, I think the reason why it's not applied to other things is because I think in our academic life, which I don't know about anybody else, but I always connected academic life to career and job and all that stuff. That's just kind of the path that I was sort of, But in academics, you are taught to be afraid of failure. You fail at a class, there's negative repercussions for it. You get an F on something that's not good. You get an F on a test. There is a follow-up that doesn't feel great. And so
like reprimanding.
So you're conditioned in academics to be afraid of failure. And there is generally a very specific reason why you may have failed something. You either didn't do the work to study, or the work didn't connect with you and you weren't given other ways to learn. But there's always a negative impact. You come home, you've got an F on your report card. Your parents most likely not happy about that F. And so you develop this, okay, I need to succeed. I got to get A+ or B+ on whatever I'm doing for my life, because that's what matters. So you get into the real world with something, and if it's your job and you fail at it, it's heavy. That's tough. And so, you know, part of that is tough when you're doing creativity as a job. And in the creative world, you're not taught that failure means failure. In the creative world, failing, you just try again. We figure it out. We work through the process. We'll get there. But academically, you're taught failure as bad.
And I think that shame piled on top of that fear of failing, it creates mediocre people.
Oh, okay. Oof.
When you were talking about that, that's what because you're so afraid of making mistakes, you play it safe and you keep yourself contained in this little box that really is imaginary. It's not real. It doesn't exist. And you limit yourself.
Well, and then you don't, along with that limiting yourself, because you've limited yourself, you don't try things.
Because you don't go out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, because you're now concerned with this failure. So you're like, okay, I try something. And we were actually talking about this not too long ago about how frustrating sometimes things can be when you do something for the first time and you're not good at it when you're used to being good at things. And sometimes when that happens, you're like, well, I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I like this activity. And it's not that you didn't like the activity. You just didn't like that you weren't good at it. And so now you don't do the work to try and get better at it. You just write that activity off like, that one wasn't for me. But I think you're supposed to, the thought process is, oh, I'm not good at this right now. Let me continue doing it. Let me try it again and see, do I not like it? Or is it just because I suck and I don't like that I suck? And so I got to get better at it. And, so there, there's that conditioning that plays such an important part in that limiting, and you have to allow yourself to work unlimited. You've got to allow yourself, or limitless. You've got to allow yourself to walk into a space and be prepared to fail. That's what I want you to take away from this is I want you to step into an activity and prepare for failure. Prepare for this to work out completely differently than what you expect, but enjoy the journey. And that's what we're focused on today.
That's
what we're focused on today. Get in there. Get in there.
Enjoying the journey. But yeah, it's true. It's like take the pressure off. Take the pressure off. Allow yourself to be a beginner. Ask yourself why you're doing it. Why you're doing it. Are you doing it to look perfect and look like you're this superhuman that is good at everything they do and they touch right away instantaneously? Or are you trying to have fun and learn and get better and improve? And there's just so much acceptance in it. It reminded me when I had this shift in acting, I put so much pressure on myself because I thought I was failing at the scene or like failing at the class because I wasn't getting what the teacher basically put out there as the vision of how it should look. And I would just beat myself up and sometimes get out of there crying, which is ridiculous because I'm supposed to enjoy this thing. Like, it's supposed to be a passion.
That's what you love doing. And
it was so silly looking back at it. I mean, my emotions are valid, but I really had to like work through that and redefine and ask myself, why am I doing this? Well, I'm doing it to have fun and get better. And how about having fun as I get better and learn? It's just a process, and that's why I'm in class. I'm not in class to be perfect. I'm in class to learn.
And you're in class because you know that you need to get better. So why be upset at yourself that you're not nailing it when that's the whole reason you're here?
I wouldn't pay if I was like perfect at it. Because I've been in that situation too, where I'm like there and I don't get any feedback. I'm like, why am I here?
Yeah. Well, that redefining is so important, and that's kind of what I had to do when I was telling you that, like, when I got into doing this for like a gig, like a job, it being like, oh, well, this didn't work the way I wanted, or this didn't turn out the way I wanted. It got to this point to where, in my late 20s, I started to really have this battle with, do I want to be a creative? Like, is this even what I want to do? Because there was so much pressure I put on myself to, I'm not making the kind of money that I want to be making. My life doesn't look the way that I envisioned it. And am I even happy? And so there was like, a solid like year and a half where I was going through this. And actually it was like 2 years where I went back to school. I really looked at my life and was like, what am I trying to do? Like, what do I want to do? And what I realized was, it's not that I wasn't enjoying what I was doing. It was that I was just putting too much pressure on, this needs to make money. And when I removed that pressure, things changed. I decided to then, look at my skill set, and maybe I was going about making money the wrong way. Maybe I was looking at my skills and saying, okay, I'm going to make money the way that I see other people do it. Okay. I make music. fine, I want to be an artist. But I had to relook at things and say, okay, I want to make money from making music. Does that mean I want to be an artist, or does that mean that my artistry is the only way I can make money? And so now there's looking at all these other things that I could do with my skills to be able to make money from it. And then still being able to be an artist and focus on being an artist and doing that. But now I'm doing that because I like doing it. So now I create the music I want to create. I'm not creating music for a sound that I'm trying to hit. I'm not creating videos because I have the specific, I see what's doing well, and now I got to create this exact same thing, even though that's not what I create. There was this disconnect of being like, okay, I can use these same skills for money, and then I can also do my own stuff that isn't tied to money.
Yeah. 2 books came to mind as you were talking about your process there that also helped me, because I was, as a creative, I think we struggle with this similar battles. In pursuing something for money and, capitalism. So Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert.
Oh, yeah. I remember this one.
And The War of Art.
Oh, yeah.
That really helped reframe my perspective on doing something for money. And just, how sometimes, well, not sometimes, but when creative, when creativity is tied into like your income and how to like release the pressure on that. 2 books I really highly recommend, and pursuing it for yourself ultimately, and just basically how you are able to receive what you need, you're provided for when you loosen your grip and allow it to just flow through you.
Well, and something else that worked for me, like, and those books are great books, but I actually had a mentor who said, it's okay that you have a job.
Like that part too. It takes the pressure off the creativity.
And so there was so much, in my mid to late 20s, there was so much frustration that I had a day job. I was so annoyed. I'd be so angry about it. I didn't want to be there. And I had a mentor say, it's okay that you have a job, because now you can focus on your art just being art, and you figure out pathways to build it and make it what you want. But you can just be an artist and not have that monetary value connected to it. And what that allowed me to do is, at the time, I started to move up in my day job and take on other tasks at my work. And luckily I had a job that when you clock out, like,
it's done.
So that helps a lot. Try to have a job that at least respects your creative career. So in my day job, I was able to grow and make more money. That then gave me the ability to get the tools I needed, but also really in my off time, start building out how I can transition. And so now I'm at this point to where, we have our own business, and we are able to not work a day job, and we're doing our thing. But it was a journey to get to that point. And luckily, I learned to enjoy my job so that my mental state was in a better place, so that I could leave work and could focus on my crafts and skills. Don't be upset that you have a day job. And if you are upset that you have a day job, maybe, and you have to have one, try looking for one that allows you to still have the time and energy to go and do what you want to do outside of that.
So fund your creativity, and then use your skill set to creatively solve problems.
Yes.
Yes.
Which is ultimately, if you're trying to get money from this, that's literally the key right there, is how do you solve a problem with your creativity? And once you figure that out, you just tell people that. Here's the problem. Here's
you
my
can solve
solution
their problem.
So I'd say that's the start to it. And the other thing, when we talk about embracing the fear of failure, and when we talk about how do you do that, I think about one of the things that I recently came across was a video from Myron Golden, and his was more business oriented, but I think the message is the same. And it's turn no into a game. Make that the thing you're searching for. And so what he did was he decided, okay, I'm struggling with making sales and I don't like no's. I don't like hearing them. So what he did was created this game around getting no's, and it's getting 10 no's in a row. And so what he started with, he'd reach out, do his conversation, try to get his sale. First person, it's a no. Second person, it's a no. Third person, it's a no. Fourth person, it's a no. Fifth person, it's a yes. So now I start over again. First person, no. Second person, no. And you keep doing this until you get to 10 consecutive no's. And what he said is by the end of doing this game, and as he started developing, he started getting, 10, 20 yeses in a row. He got to the point where he was so good, his pitch was good, that he rarely heard no's. The game for him, it's changed because he's now getting his clients, getting the yeses he needs because he learned to embrace the no.
Yeah. It's all about getting comfortable with rejection. And rejection doesn't have to sting. It doesn't have to have the weight of, like we said, it doesn't have to have the weight of fear of failure either, or failure in general. But yeah, if you want to get comfortable with rejection real quick, act.
Yeah.
Because then it's just part of the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about reprogramming yourself. And most of us are taught throughout life to look at failure and be weary of it, defeated from it, all these things that are negative. Change the narrative for you and fear.
Yeah.
At failure. Change the narrative around it. It is, don't be afraid of it. Let it inform your next thing. Take that pressure off.
Take the pressure off.
Have fun.
Let off some steam.
Embrace failure.
Yeah. Don't let it control. Don't let failure or fear of failure drive. You're in the driver's seat.
Vroom, vroom. And while you're driving, don't forget to like, subscribe.
Maybe not while, but after. While you're driving, listening to us, after you park the car, like,
subscribe, review, share, tell the homies.
Yes.
And thank you.
Yes. $3.99 support.
Yeah.
We love you.
Yes. Thank you for enjoying another week with us. Yeah. We hope you have a wonderful weekend. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.